Every species in the galaxy has a version of the story. Some tell it as a cautionary tale, whispered to their young. Others speak of it with admiration, a legend of justice delivered with fire and steel. But no matter the telling, the message is always the same. The day the Deathworlders decided to stop being nice was the day the galaxy changed forever. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained order, an alliance of powerful civilizations dictating law and structure. Humanity was a late addition, a Deathworld species from a harsh planet, yet strangely cooperative. They integrated quickly, proving adaptable, intelligent, and, above all, reasonable. Unlike other Deathworlders, humans negotiated first, fought only when necessary, and even then, showed restraint. Other species noted their odd contradictions. They were fierce warriors, yet rarely sought war. They endured incredible hardship, yet offered help freely. Their technology advanced rapidly, but instead of conquest, they shared their innovations. Some admired this balance of strength and mercy. Others saw it as weakness. To many within the Council, humans were useful but unthreatening. Their resilience made them ideal explorers and peacekeepers, their diplomatic skills invaluable in mediating disputes. But their unwillingness to seize power, their patience in the face of provocation, led some to assume they couldn't, or worse, wouldn't. And in a galaxy where strength dictated survival, kindness was often mistaken for submission. The Zarkari Dominion was one such power. An expansionist empire built on war, they respected only brute force. They had clashed with the Council before, always testing boundaries, always retreating just before full-scale war. To them, humanity was an anomaly, fighters who refused to fight unless pushed. They had seen humans win wars for others, yet never for themselves. That made them prey. When the Zarkari began their latest campaign, expanding aggressively into neutral territories, the Council hesitated. Humanity advised against inaction, warning that appeasement only invited further aggression. Their warnings were ignored. The Council had its protocols, its negotiations, its endless deliberations. But the Zarkari had no interest in words. Then, they made a mistake. A human colony, New Avalon, stood between the Dominion and a valuable trade route. To the Zarkari, it was just another system, lightly defended and strategically placed. They struck without warning. No declaration of war. No demands. Just destruction. The attack was swift and merciless. Cities were reduced to rubble. Civilians were slaughtered in the streets. Those who survived faced worse: enslavement, experimentation, eradication. The distress signals reached the Council. The response was delays, bureaucracy, diplomacy. Humanity waited for justice. It never came. For the first time in their history, they realized the truth. The rules they had followed, the structure they had respected, it had never protected them. Their allies, their treaties, the grand speeches about peace and unity, they were all meaningless. And so, humanity made a decision. No more warnings. No more negotiations. No more patience. If the galaxy only understood strength, then humanity would show them what true strength looked like. The Zarkari never stood a chance. Their empire had been built on intimidation, on preying upon the weak. Their wars were waged against civilizations too frightened to fight back. But humans were different. They had spent too long holding back, too long playing by the rules of a galaxy that never protected them. Now, unshackled from restraint, they moved with a precision and fury that no one had ever seen before. The Terran fleet didn't just attack. It dismantled. Their first move wasn't to meet the Zarkari in open combat. It was to erase their ability to fight at all. Before the Zarkari could fully mobilize, their shipyards were obliterated, their supply chains severed, their outposts turned to dust. Every communication network they relied on went dark. Their fleets were left scattered, blind, isolated. The Zarkari responded the only way they knew how: brute force. They scrambled to launch counterattacks, desperate to show strength. But strength meant nothing when every move they made had already been anticipated. Their ships warped into battle only to find empty space, or the wreckage of their own forces. Their invasions never landed, their armies cut off before they could even reach the battlefield. Then the ground war began. The humans landed with an efficiency that shattered any illusion of resistance. They didn't waste time. Every battle was over before it started. Cities that had once been Zarkari strongholds fell within hours. Surrender was no longer an option. The Zarkari had never offered mercy to their victims. Now they would receive none in return. Captured officers weren't ransomed or negotiated with. They were tried for their crimes, judged guilty, and executed. Those who had ordered the slaughter of New Avalon were hunted down, one by one. It didn't matter how deep they burrowed, how many fortresses they hid behind. The Terran forces found them. And when they did, there were no speeches, no debates. Only judgment. Zarkari worlds, once proud and untouchable, fell into chaos. Some begged for peace, for the same diplomatic resolutions they had once mocked. Their pleas went unanswered. The war that should have lasted years was over in weeks. And then came the final moment, the one that would be told in whispers for generations. The Terran fleet arrived at the last Zarkari stronghold, their homeworld, the seat of their empire. The Zarkari gathered every remaining ship, every last soldier, preparing for a final stand. But when the humans arrived, they did not fire. Instead, they broadcast a single message. "We warned you." The Zarkari, for the first time in their history, surrendered without a fight. And as the last of their banners were torn down, the rest of the galaxy understood the truth. The humans had never been weak. They had never been afraid. They had simply chosen to be kind. But when kindness was no longer an option, they showed the universe what Deathworlders truly were.